Okay, more to Google than Google it. This is Google's mission. This is who they want to be. They want to be your be-all, end-all. Just like Microsoft, just like Apple, and they're doing a pretty good job. And early this morning, about 4 o'clock, I came up with a new description for your computer club and a tagline. Didn't have anything else to finish up my day at 4 o'clock, so I thought I would do this. I ran this through Copilot about 3 times, changing it, and this is what you need to have on somewhere up close and personal. And I'm going to say this, I hope for the last time, but nobody, literally nobody that attends tech club meetings cares that you're a nonprofit. Nobody has. That has never been anything of importance. You get a nonprofit if you want to be able to take donations from people and they want a tax receipt. Or somebody says, if you're a nonprofit, we'll let you have the room for free. It's not a requirement. My group has been around since 1986. We do not have a nonprofit status, and nobody in the world cares. So please put that information as the very last thing that you ever put anyplace.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you taking notes?
Yeah.
And this is brought to you by the APCUG Speakers Bureau. And when COVID came along in 2020, I felt that APCUG needed to offer more stuff for its member groups. And because we were all supposed to be sheltering at home, twiddling our thumbs. And I thought, well, perhaps they'd like to learn more about technology. So Bill James started it out with a series about Windows 10. And then he went on to his home automation stuff that he put back together. And I kept bugging John Kennedy. Oh, come on, do Linux, do Linux. No. At that time, his group was teaching classes and all that kind of stuff. And at October, we got Kenneth Tubaugh to give a presentation about Bitwarden. John joined us, and we started having 3 Wednesday workshops a month and having a gay old time, making our members more educated about technology. So here's the 2 dudes. Those 2 kids, when they were at Stanford, founded Google in 1998. And the rumor goes, they kind of didn't really like each other. And they stored their original hard drive in a Lego box because it had better ventilation. I love that. And Yahoo said, we're not interested, no $1 million for you guys. And in 2002, they wanted to buy it for $5 billion, buy Google for $3 billion. The dudes wanted 5 and they said no. And it would have been a horrible happening if Yahoo had bought it. And rub your back, that was the original name for Google. And somebody, I don't know who it was, but somebody said, I really don't think that's, a name for a tech thing, and that it was Google. And Google means something, the number 1 followed by 100 zeros. And again, there's their mission. They want to organize the world's info and make it universally accessible and useful. And they've done that. And it's available to everybody. Or somebody says, it was just a misspelling. When somebody was looking for a domain name, this fellow student whose job was that mistyped it from Google to Google. Thank goodness. So there are almost 4 billion Android devices used around the world, and they use 50% less power or energy in its data centers. This would be Google compared to other similar firms. This is their part of their give back. It recycles 100% of its equipment. I mean, you can go to a swap meet and maybe you're buying an old computer from Google, who knows? And they want a sustainable and pollution-free environment. They're all about climate and change and stuff like that. There are 1.8 billion users worldwide using Gmail, And I went to, after one of my San Diego tech conferences, I did 20 down at San Diego and 3 at Cal Poly Pomona up here in the LA area. And there was like a waterfall that was clear. And I said, what is that? And that was all the searches that were going on. They were tracking it, and it was their visual was just a waterfall from the ceiling to the ground, and it was mesmerizing. But if you're searching, you could be one of the 6.3 billion people who are looking for something. How did they acquire YouTube? Oh, they went to Denny's. Mozzarella sticks. They said, we'll give you 1.6 mil for it. And boom, it was done. Again, platform was put together by very smart kids. And Webster said, we will recognize Google as a verb. 2002, Oxford English Dictionary, and then the Merriam-Webster. And they're all about the ecosystem or the ecosystem, however you pronounce it. And it's happening more and more with technology. All companies are trying to say, this is what we do, an ecosystem, and we're all together. Everything that we do complements one another, each piece of equipment. And they're the 3 R that are trying to do it because they have software and hardware, and they have a suite of products that work together. Linux doesn't have hardware. So it's just a suite of software. And Google says we want to have the most comprehensive and diverse suite of apps and hardware that work together, so you will use nothing without the name Google on it. They have nothing that resides on our computer. If you use a Chromebook, it's all on the cloud. Core of their products is a Chrome browser. It's the foundation of everything. That works with all operating systems installed on Windows and iOS, no big deal. And they have lots of apps, again, that are cross-platform. And on your 9 dots, this is 2 computers. The one on the left is my APCUG computer. What am I interested in first with that? Gmail, contacts, taking a look at the account, whatever. I create forms. I look at the drive all the time because that's where we have all our stuff stored. That's me. And over here on the right is Google, and I have those. So if you click on your 9 dots and you go, Judy says I can move these around. You can. Just click on them and push and just drive them around your screen until you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on how important they are to you. And of course, the most important ones are going to be on the top row, or at least the second row. And if you have never taken the time to go through and at least touch, and you don't have to open it up, but look at not everything that Google has, but a lot of the Google apps, they're all there. You might find something way down at the bottom and you go, oh, that really sounds interesting. Drag it up to the top so you remember it. Okay, Android, did they create it themselves? They bought it in 2005. They saw the operating system out there, and it's for tablets and smartphones, etc., mobile devices. And they said, looks interesting. Then they did the Android OS, and the company that did it was Android. If it had been the Smith OS, I'm assuming the company you'd all have Smith phones instead of Android phones. And first one out, 2008. And then came the web browser, 2008, Windows and Mac and Linux in 2009, and so on. You can see that and I checked my 67%, and they've come up a little bit since January when I gave this presentation before. But I just rounded it down to 67, and that's all platforms combined. It goes down to the last one in the line is like 0.07% of the people in the world use it. And what they want you to have here, how exciting, the doorway to your cloud. It's all about simplicity. I don't know if I like this or not, but this is a Chromebook. So simple, even your grandma could use it. I keep wanting to change that to grandpa, but I'm thinking a lot of us grandmas use Chromebooks and so on and so forth. Works fast, boots up in seconds, supports all the Chrome apps. When you turn your computer on, theoretically, it is safer than anything else because if it cleans everything and boom, you're good to go. Chrome is 14 years old, been around that long. I love this. The end of life in general, is about 8 years. Uses the Chrome operating system, Android Linux apps. They are lighter. Yes, they are. They can be called, have them on your lap and type away, and you don't feel like there's much on your lap. They can be called couch computers. And a lot of people think they're the cat's meow. I personally think for seniors, there's something else that you have to learn because they don't have the same amount of keys and things aren't the same. And if you have been using Windows computers, like since 1986, like I have, I'm going to have to learn something entirely new. And at this stage, I'm really not interested in doing that. I'm happy with my Windows stuff. But are they safer than a PC? All their software runs in the cloud, theoretically encrypted, gets updates from Google long before anybody else does. And the one thing that you need to check if you are buying any type of computer, especially your Chromebooks, is find out the AUE, the automatic update expiration. You say, I'm going to the store after this. Judy's convinced me I am going to buy a Chromebook. And the first thing out of your mouth is, what is the end of life date? I just let that person in.
That's fine.
But I shouldn't have had to do that. And because that's what's important. It's not when it was meant, when you open the box and start using it, it's when it was manufactured. It might have been sitting on the shelf for 2 years. You need to know that when you buy it because that takes 2 years off its life. Back in the day, we didn't know that. And everybody was going, gee, they really don't get updates very long. And finally, somebody wrote about the end of life date, which is what is happening to Windows in October. And here's the keyboard on the upper left. Below that is a regular Microsoft keyboard. And if you have problems seeing your keys, you are on your way to macular degeneration, you're going to want to go to Amazon and get that orange and black keyboard up there. That has let people who are slowly but surely losing their vision work with their computers much longer than they could think. You can make your cursor larger, your letters larger, etc. Well, this is making your keys easier to see. But down in the right-hand corner, there's a Chromebook. And that happens to be Jim Glasses. He was the president of the Glendora Group in LA, no longer with us. And he says, Judy, I love my Chromebook. He said, but I can't see the keys anymore. And we're supposed to be touch typists, but we can't see. And then on the left-hand side there, you can see he has put keyboard shortcuts to the keys that are not on the Chromebook. And he was able to use that until he finally is no longer with us. And he was such a happy camper. Just by putting stickers he bought at Amazon. They do have everything. So you have the Office suite. You grumble every time you have to pay for it. You don't really use hardly anything in the Office suite but maybe Word and Excel. You might want to think about using Google Docs. And they're easy peasy to use. Their Word is great. Their Excel is good. Their PowerPoint, if you are big into PowerPoint presentations, they are plain Jane type. But I get them all the time that people give on the Wednesday workshops, and nobody says anything about the fact that the PowerPoint presentations looks different than anybody else's. You can create forms for your family, planning a reunion, doing whatever, a generational birthday party, things for your meetings. I know you would have surveys that were forms that went on and on and on and on and on. You have to remember, people lose attention. If you have a survey, you're going to want to make it short and sweet and to the point. They have an inexpensive Zoom type program. And I wish somebody would invite me to one of those so I could see, but it's not something we as tech groups could use. Notes, you can make a website with Google Sites. You might want to just give the docs and the sheets a try. They're free. And they work with everything. Even the BlackBerry devices that apparently are back. Everything's backed up to the Google Drive. The worst thing in using, I use the top two, the Word and the Excel type thing, is it saves it by itself. The first thing you do is open a document and give it a name. And after that, we're taught to type along, and then you can do Control S and it'll save what you just typed. And when you're in, don't forget to save it. It saves it all in the background for you. And it's kind of difficult to get used to that. And you can open your Word, Excel, every Office document, you can open it in Google Docs. You can save it as a doc. You can save it back on your hard drive as in your regular document folder. So here's the docs, plain Jane, but enough of what we use is there. And there's Sheets, also known as Excel. And the thing is, you just need to figure out where things are, and boom, you're good to go. And here's their version of PowerPoint. And I use the forums all the time. The Wednesday workshop and invitations are done that. When we have our voting for officers in October, I create a form and send it out. So we use this all the time, and the results are in a spreadsheet. So working with John Kennedy, he's free John. I'm working with ODS, I'm working with Docs, and I'm working with Excel, and it's just seamless. No big deal. And here's the basis of a form. Boom, you're done quite quickly. Oh, there's one of Bill James' workshops from 1,000 years ago. Make sure that if you have an Android phone and your iPhone too, make sure Find My Device is turned on. And you can, if you lose it, even in the house, you lay it down and somebody else lays their jacket on top of it or whatever, and you're going, where's my phone? I should have charged it. Oh yes, I did charge it and there's a little bit left. And you use it and boom, it will let you know where it is. And you do the same thing with your iPhone, and you set up your SOS and all that good kind of stuff. Make sure that you have gone into both phone types and gone through every single feature and customize it for you. And probably the first feature you should customize is making the font larger so you can read it. Google says, please, at a minimum, use 2FA. Make your accounts, no matter what Google account you have, make it more secure and use 2FA. A few years ago, that's all you needed to use was 2FA. Nobody knew about anything else. But now, a bottom line is passkeys. They're on to passkeys, and make sure everything is secure, so go into passkeys. And you can get up to emails 50 megs in size. So that includes attachment. And you can send your favorite pictures and everything to friends, relatives, whoever, up to 25 megs. And you go, oh, shoot, it's larger than that. Gmail, no big deal. They'll just send the recipient a link where they can click on your large attachment and take a look at your cruise photo that will take them an hour and a half to go through. And this is my inbox, so to speak. This is where you set it up. and you can change the font size. You can change your font to be default other than what they have. And again, this is something, if you haven't done it for both types of phones, you need to go in and make it your very own. Google and Apple, they have it set up normally for, everybody the same way. We're not all the same. We think some things are more important than others. You need to go through this and customize it just like you have done your operating system. And I heard a Bill Gates talk. He used to just kind of drop in at some of the APCUG conference events in Comdex days. That was 1,000 years ago. And he said one time, he said, you need to think of your hard drive as your file cabinet. And it went, light bulb went on. Oh my gosh. And so my hard drive, HD or SSD, is exactly like you would find something with Pendaflex folders, inside file folders, and I have everything. It's like John Kennedy says, I love the alphabet. And so I have all of this over here. You can't see it set up like a file cabinet. We have a contest, and I create folders for that contest that year. And if I get an email, I say thank you, and then I immediately move it over to the appropriate folder. When it's time for judging, I'm not going through my inbox looking for, it is all in the appropriate folder over here. This is spam. Make sure whatever email program you use, make sure you can see your spam button. A lot of people tell me, I don't have a spam button. Everybody's going to have a spam button or something like that. And make sure you can see it. Gmail is fantastic. I don't have spam in my inbox. My spam always ends up in my spam folder where it belongs. You do need to check it. I get, emails. I didn't get my Wednesday workshop registration. Look in your spam folder. For some reason, it's in there. Check it every once in a while to make sure there's not something in there that shouldn't be. And again, you can customize all of this. If you don't want chats or scheduled or any of these, you can hide them. And they are called labels. We normally know them as folders. You just have to change your thinking. And they have calendar, keep, tax, and content on the right-hand side over here. Use your Google Calendar. You can color. This is the date we're having our board meeting. I'm going to color that purple. This is when we're having our general meeting. All of my stuff with APCUG, all the presences I give, they're red in my calendar. I'm blue, the nice blue that you can choose. And dentist appointments, something like that. I'm a visual person. I don't deal in black and white. I deal in colors, and you can set these all up that way. You're having a family reunion. You have 50 people to contact. Well, I got to send 50 emails out. Why did I decide say I would do this? If you put the dates that you can possibly do it as open, and you can send the Google Calendar out to everybody, and they can put their name on the dates when they are available, and it works for them. And then you don't have to answer back or do anything. If they don't use Google Calendar, you can give them permission to access the one page. And you can put, a huge birthday party together or something like that very quickly, just using your calendar. When Bob G, and he will be giving security presentations this October, he sent me this is my proposal. What do you think? Mark it up, blah, blah, blah. And I haven't had time to do it, but he will put your meeting in his calendar, and it will pop up in your group calendar, the person who is the communicating with Bob. So that's helpful. But you can do that with any meeting. Google Keep, Notes, You're a note taker, use this. This is another note. Take a note. Google Contacts. Do check your contacts every once in a while. You'd be surprised how many people you find in there that are no longer around. And you go, oh, that's right. Jim's no longer with us. I need to remove him from my contacts. So clean it up. I do this kind of stuff like if I'm at the dentist's office and I don't have anything to do. Instead of reading a magazine or something, I'll get my phone out and I'll start cleaning up my contact list, or making a note that I have to add this person or whatever, or making the mailing list exist for certain activities. There's Google Tasks, To Do, Google Drive. I encourage all groups to keep all of their documents about their group in Google Drive and any of the online cloud programs where you can save things and people can have access. When APCUG's presidents died, John Kennedy and I spent well over a year trying to find where everything was. And we didn't know, there was no clue with David's stuff. I have pages of notes where I have traveled, electronically to all these companies trying to find out stuff. One of them wanted me to go to court and testify. And I thought, testify about what? And they were upset because we really didn't have anything but a post office box. They expected a brick and mortar. And so I finally asked the guy, and I said, you want me to appear in California? How about Ohio? How about Florida? New York? And he said, oh, I'll trust you, never mind, because that's where I had advisors. And I thought those were the states I could think of quickly. But have your minutes, your treasurer's report, anything that pertains to the running of your club in a shared folder someplace. Like I said, your Google Drive, your Dropbox, wherever. It's very, very important. Who still can't find everything belonging to APCUG. Okay. You need more storage? Google One. They all have extra storage at a cost. Google Groups. Look down at the bottom. There you guys are, back in the day. April 13, 2020. That's the Columbus Computer Society. You had 73 members at that time signed up. Here you're talking about the meeting and so on. Google Voice. I suggest anybody that has a group have that. Have a phone number that belongs to your group. Every once in a while, there are people out there who are just only comfortable picking up the phone and calling. They want to talk to somebody. They don't want to click on something. They don't want you to, whatever. They just want to hear from somebody. And back in the day, when my group was actually a valid, we had a lot of members, we had one of those. And every once in a while, somebody would call. And this is what I had. I had 2 missed calls and 3 new voicemails. I really didn't have to talk to anybody. I could if I wanted to, or I could just send them back an email and say, how can I help you? The thing with this is you have to have somebody who will religiously check to make sure if somebody called. If they read their email, easy peasy. It'll be there will be a message there. It's free. Google Messages for your phones, not available in China or Russia, in case you're planning on going there. Google Meet, video conferences, but Maps. And this year, up to this date right here, I checked this morning, 1.8 billion monthly users. In January, it was 1.3 billion monthly users. Okay. And this is what they look at. Used in over 200 countries. And it's for driving, buses, walking, bicycles, motorcycles, you name it. Eyes-free walking navigation. Its vision impaired users have detailed voice guidance as found under walking options. Now everybody says, oh, Google knows everything about me. I am so sick and tired of that. You can use incognito mode when you don't want your activities saved by Google. Searches, shared locations, and places you navigate to. If you do not know that and you use Google, you need to do some research. They really don't care where you've been most of the time. And they have local map guides. I can see, junior high and high school kids doing this during the summer. Well, high school kids, you have to be 18 years and older. And they write reviews, share photos, answer questions about where they've gone. And when I put this together many years ago, I update it every single time. That's what I was doing at 4 o'clock this morning. And I thought, I'm going to try it. I'm over 18. And I chose 3 local restaurants in Santa Clarita Valley, which is the valley north of San Fernando Valley, the big one, if most people have heard of that. And you go and then you write a review, you take some pictures, you have a form that you filled out saying, this is what I'm going to do. And every time somebody looks at the pictures or reads your review, you get points that get you things. And I thought, as doing something over the summer, that might be fun, for like high schoolers, because you have to be over 18. So it'd be juniors or seniors or junior college kids, or seniors who don't have anything else to do. And every once in a while, I will turn that on. And I have had quite a few people look at my reviews, make comments about my reviews. Yeah, Rattlers has really good barbecue. Highly recommend people go there. And I say thank you very much to whoever that was. And it's just something fun. But I don't use it, so I turn it off. One-stop shopping at the beginning, one-stop shopping, plan your travel with Google. You hear all these other places and everything, but if Google is what you use, why not use it to plan your travel? And I was mucking around, checking this out, and I was going from here to Denver, SoCal to Denver, where my youngest daughter had moved. She moved 20 Mule Team Borax's 3 human resources offices there. And it not only gave me how much I could pay, $80, to fly to Denver, but hey, maybe I'd want to go to Portland. How about Chicago? Houston. Those all just came up in case I wanted to go there. And I just thought that was fun. It was just something fun to do. And I love their logo at the top. It's the roller bag. If you have time on your hands and you're sitting around going, it's hot, I don't want to go outside, it's raining, take a look at Google Earth. Take a tour. Just see what's out there. I did this in my internet class and I showed it. I said, everybody type in their street address. And then there was their house. And this one guy said, oh no. And I thought, oh geez, is this house on fire? And this was during the 94 earthquake when I had to, come from Glendale to Santa Clarita in the easement lane on the right-hand side of the freeway. And I'm thinking, what's wrong? And he said, he has an RV. He parks it in the driveway. He immediately thought if the bad guys came by and saw his RV missing, they would burgle his house, so to speak. That was his first and only thought. And I thought, well, okay. Well, you can take yourself off Google Maps. You will not be seen. And he was but you can't add yourself back on. So the only problem with that would be is if the person who bought his house later on, if he sold it, would not be able to be seen on that. But he specifically did that just because of this huge RV that was very visible in his parking, his garage area. And here's Google Earth. They say climate change doesn't exist. Here is on the left is the Columbia Glacier. And look how this is in 1996. And look on the right-hand side in 2020, look how much of the ice has melted. Visual on what is happening up in the ice area. But I just find that, I was just fooling around putting this presentation together. I was having so much fun because this kind of stuff is just fascinating to me. So, and here's the instructions on, you never get to see my house again. And this is another thing. You're bored, you want something different to do, your computer glasses are cleaned and ready to go. You can go to the arts and culture area and look around. And the platform emerged as a result of Google's 20% time. Employees were encouraged to spend 20% of their time working on an innovative project of interest. Microsoft had the same thing back in the day. I don't know if they still do, but the people at Microsoft said, you want to write something, how to do this, how to do that, using Windows, whatever, and then we'll publish it on a discrete page, and people can look at it. And if they like it, they give you a thumbs up, so to speak. If they didn't, thumbs down. And I was pleasantly surprised when I used to go there that some of the ones that I liked ended up as viable parts of the operating system. And it was just fun to see that of course, their employees didn't get an extra dime, but they could use their creativity by working at, same thing with Google and Microsoft. But you can go to museums. Each month or each week, there are a different selections of pictures. This came out in 2011, and they add new places that you can visit every single month. Are you a person who colors? Here's a Van Gogh painting. You can color that. What fun if that's what you like to do. It's something different. Play games. These change all the time. I don't play games, but I've never heard of any of those. And they seem to have to do with just music. But with the slide, the one before the picture to color, you are actually, when you tour a museum, you have a guide. And it's like you are walking with a whole bunch of people, and this guide is pointing out all of the things that are stored in that museum. If you have gone on a cruise and you've gone to the XYZ museum someplace, didn't have a chance to do the whole thing, you can follow up on Google Arts and Cultures and get a guided tour of a rethink or what you didn't get to see. What fun to enhance your knowledge. We're old. We need to expand our brains. I'm a happy camper if I learn one new thing every single day about technology. You might be somebody that is interested in the arts. What a good place to stretch your brain and make it grow. Walking through museums, your feet don't hurt, and learning something and making your brain say, thank you, thank you, thank you. Google Photos, that was something that Google actually developed. At 2015, if you need to know anything about Google Photos, you will have Chris and Jim Gould give you a presentation. I do not know if you have done that, but you should. They are giving a presentation at my Wednesday workshop. That's Linux, but I twisted John's arm. They are docked. They are sailing around the world for 3 years and still giving presentations. And they're going to be docked in San Diego. And she's used to the Southwest Conference being down there and said, hey, let's get together. I said, oh, I'm 160 miles north of you. I don't live in San Diego. None of us that did the San Diego conference lived down there. And so she and her husband are going to give us a presentation next week. On their ship, they are going to give us a tour of where they are. And it's absolutely fantastic. They're coming north. They're stopping in Catalina. When I lived in Hermosa, there was Catalina. There were the Thursday night sailboat races, and they're going to San Francisco and Victoria, maybe, and Alaska. And then they're heading off to Asia. And they are just coming in from several days touring all the Hawaiian Islands. No kids. It's the only way you can do something like that. And they sold their house. But you need to have them for just a fun, really good publicity type meeting. Have them give a presentation. But you can't start it out like you did mine. And she has a book. If you are interested in learning about Google Photos, I think you can still buy it from her website. But of course, Amazon sells it. And when she updates it, you get the updates if you've registered. And again, if you are interested in photos, and she will say in her workshops, this works with both iPhone and Android, or this doesn't work with Android, or it doesn't work with iPhone. She will let you know the tip that she is doing. But they're on Facebook at least twice a week. And when you look at the room where they are, you think, I don't think that would work for me, but apparently it's working wonderfully for them. Do you have an EV? Do you have Android Auto? You have Android Auto or iPhone? My daughter has a EV, a Kia EV, and we're driving down the freeway, and all of a sudden a tooth popped up on her display. And I said, oh, when's your dentist appointment? And she goes, how did you know I had a dentist appointment? And I said, your screen just popped up with the tooth. What is a mother to think that her kid doesn't have a dentist appointment? She said, oh, it's Thursday. And when we were out and about again on Thursday, and the tooth was gone. But I mean, they can be used for all kinds of different things. And they are really fun. Again, Ray Baxter has a very interesting presentation on changing the way we listen to music at home and in the car. And he is always updating that. Google Play, that's the App Store. If you are an Android person, do not buy anything or download anything except from Google Play. Same thing with the Apple Store. You don't want muck coming down with things. Google Play, 1.57 million apps. Try making a list. If you don't have anything to do, you could spend many, many years making a list. And in January 25, they had gotten 27.9 thousand new apps. And look at that, 10,000 were removed. People were complaining, hey, we're getting junk. And so they, there is you have to fill in all this information here before you can upload your app. They have the safety section that they started a couple of years ago, and and this was requested by users. And they said, okay, no problem. We will do this. You got your Google TV. Huey Poplock has just updated his streaming TV. If you have not had him, give a presentation, have him give a presentation on that. He stopped giving it. He thought, this is old stuff now. But, with money, tight and all this, dumb tariffs and all this, doom and gloom stuff, his presentation is absolutely fantastic. And he just sits there and talks about it. And then he'll show you the channels to use and blah, blah, blah. Bill James said a few years ago, Judy, I am going to, drop, I think he had Cox. And I laughed because by the time he got his Google TV and he got his YouTube, and he was almost spending the same amount of money he had before, but it lets him do what he wants to do because he likes the British station. So that was an extra one. But the one thing he says, he cautions, when you buy a new TV, please ask what operating system it has. TVs have operating systems just like our computers. And I did that. I had a Samsung, and I went to Best Buy, my dear Vizio died, and I asked to have it demonstrated. I wanted to see if the clicker made sense to me. And they looked at me like I was crazy. You want what? And I thought, why would I buy a TV if I hadn't had it demonstrated so I knew if I could figure out how to use it? Because I'm a native user. I don't read instructions from books and stuff like that. And so the guy said, I'm sorry. And I went back out, and the manager was, I said, I'm leaving. I said, I can't. Oh, he said, that guy's only been here for 2 weeks. He said, let me find somebody that actually worked in the TV department for quite a while. And they finally found a clicker that matched with, they were changing batteries like crazy, that matched the Samsung that was on sale. And I looked, and he demoed it, and I said, I'll take one. There's no way I would have bought a TV without making sure that, because I don't do hardware, so it has to be simple. But Huey's streaming TV, because he talks about everything, and he's got links and all that good stuff. And if you don't want commercials, feel free. Same thing with music. Every night when I go to bed, I say, hey, play warm and cozy New York coffee shop jazz. And he or she does, which is really great. Sometimes it plays all night long. Can't figure that out. And sometimes it doesn't. Google Translate. You're going on a cruise. You are going to the Dominican Republic. You are meeting Bill James down there. He goes for his birthday. He doesn't speak Spanish. He uses the Google Translate. You can too. Don't let not being able to speak the foreign language stop you. And if you see a sign or a menu, the last bullet point written in a foreign language, just point your phone at it. I just love that. And he gets along. He was down there for a little over a week this year and having a gay old time, going to restaurants, and he knows people down there and everything, but he uses Google Translate. And interesting, because I looked it up to see what kind of Spanish they have. Dominican Spanish. They have their own version. I was asked back in the day from the legal department. We bought an imaging center. We had a nuclear pharmaceutical business, and I needed to add some things. And they said, "Can you?" And I was the computer person. Can you translate this, intake form into? And it was for Puerto Rico. And so I did, and I sent it to Puerto Rico, and I sent it to Mexico City, and everybody was laughing hysterically, because those who live in Puerto Rico, their version of Spanish, versus the ones who live in Mexico City, their Spanish, and my Spanish that's in Los Angeles area. And so it's like trying to listen to people who live down south. They use different words, they have a thick accent. And so use Google Translate and you'll be fine. And there you go. We the people, and there it is in French. And it comes up instantly, it seems. If you do not have a wallet, we have a wallet presentation. But if you are a Google person all the way and you wouldn't use anything else, they have Google Pay that you can set up, and it's fun. It's like, my oldest daughter's husband, he just, he thinks this is the greatest thing. He says, you get your basket, you put your stuff up, you get in line, and he says, you just keep walking, and they put everything in a bag, and you get your phone out, and he says, I put the credit card on top that I'm going to use for that, and you tap it, and you just keep going. And he thinks that's the greatest thing that came down the pike. He just loves it. And Bill James, all the paperwork you have to fill out and show, it's in his phone when he travels. You can add all of those things. And the very last thing down there, in Illinois, yes, you can have your driver's license in your phone. They say that offers enhanced security features and contactless verification. So if you are pulled over by the cops, and I can say that because my brother was a homicide detective for his entire career, the cops say, can I see your driver's license? You open it up and hand him your phone. I think that's so funny. And Bill says in Oklahoma, he's got his insurance card in there too. And they will let you do the same thing. And he says he doesn't have to worry about it. He said because his insurance company automatically updates his card every time the deadline date shows. So you can use your phone and everything for all kinds of stuff. Not all states do this. It came to a head last January, about a year ago, and a bunch of states got on board, but the majority of them, you can't do that. And the thing is, like the FBI says it is the safest way you can pay for things. Okay, but it's on you to make sure people cannot get into your phone. Here's statistics on Google search. 20% of searches are by voice. I never remember to do that. But how about 8 billion searches a day? They come up in half a second. And that tells you how everything's going. And again, when I was up at Google, and those, the water was coming down, and they were just instant and searches. How they did that, I don't know, but it was really a lot of fun. And Gemini, it's kind of the new kid on the block with Copilot for Edge, ChatGPT. I use Copilot and ChatGPT most. When I was fooling around with your paragraph describing your book, I went to Copilot 3 times because I kept changing a word or two and stuff like that. But it's fun to use these. My daughter's moving her son, my daughter and husband are moving their son to the East Coast. He just got hired by ESPN and he will be in Bristol, Connecticut. Last week, he was enrolled in the University of Syracuse to get his master's in journalism. And then ESPN finally called him and said, come on board. And I said, you're going to stop and see Scotty. It's another grandson. And she says, and I'm thinking Google Maps. I'll just go into Google Maps. And she says, I'll ask ChatGPT. And I thought, good job, Stacy. Good job, Mom, because I started working, bugging her about AI about 3 years ago to get her on board slowly but surely. And they're using it she's responsible for the employee database for UCLA Health, and they are starting to use it. But I just would give her little tasks to look up something for me. If you're enamored of Google Doodles, you can go see some of the old ones. They're all listed. And if you desperately miss these names, there's a website for those. If you use images, make sure that you double check that it's not copyrighted. Go through to the page where it generates from. This is my buddy, unnamed here because he will answer, but it's fun to use it. And the one for your iPhone, Alexa, is fun. It's just fun to have it. I could go into my house and put my hand around the corner and turn on the garage light, but it was fun to tell to turn it on for me. So give it a try. And they don't have software, but they do sell picture frames and speakers and thermostats and doorbells and all that good kind of stuff. And Pixel, they have Chromecast hardware. And here's fun to look at. It's their cemetery. Oops, it just didn't work out. We say everything. If you click on myaccount.com and you follow those steps, you can do your history that Google has on you. And it takes a while because it's just here, there, and everywhere. But then you can set it up, delete my history every day, once a week, once a month, your choice. And they will be a happy camper for you to do that. Let's put it that way. The burden of the work is on you, especially if you've been using Google for 1,000 years. But they do know about us. And this is what they knew about me when I looked. And you think, oh darn. But COVID, daughter's mother-in-law calls and says, can we go on a field trip? I'm dying over here. I said, sure. Well, I have a matrix and the little pan under the engine falls off every once in a while and it was loose. So I had to go to the auto store down here by her house to get it fixed. And they came out and put the bolts on, the clips on again. So we drove up to the Antelope Valley, right up here, and went to Farmer Boy's for lunch, sat in the car, and came home. But this is what the tracking was. And in that April, I went to 3 different cities and 34 places and 8 places I had never been before, because you remember they're tracking me. And I was, 159 miles and I was on the road for 10 hours, which is absolutely nothing compared to what I would have done if it hadn't been COVID. But this is what the tracking is. You can turn that off. But that was just, I thought I'll use this as an example. And this is it, HTTPS. You know not to go to a website without HTTPS. And APCUG has free websites for groups. And I told David Williams, our past president, they need to be HTTPS to be secure. And he says, okay, get it for everybody, and then you're in charge of them. And I went, darn. And we had to pay for them every year, and then we decided to charge $25 to the groups that used them, and we decided to go to a Linux server, and with a Linux server they're free, but all of the hosted websites are secure. And I'm thinking, who would want to go to a computer club and look at anything if they did not have a secure website? And here's where you need to perform a security check on your Google account. Make sure, I have recently moved and mine is all screwed up. Which phone number, which address? You have to go into your accounts and check and make sure they are okay. Give me a couple of seconds and I will give you a quick tour of Google locations. This is Google in Venice. When you walk in, these are all the doodles. And they go up the wall, across the ceiling, and down the other. It's like walking in a tunnel. If you want to relax, you're thinking about something, you're putting something together, you can play games and collaborate with your peers. Bring your dog with you. You got your leashes, got your water, here's your kibble right there. And it's in Venice, and here's your surfboard. Lunchtime, you grab your surfboard, you grab a bike, and off you go. It's just like 3 or 4 blocks to the ocean. It surfs up. It's not a very good surfing area, though. They're here for you. And this is where they eat. At any Google, there are these eating stations everywhere. Everything's free. This is filled with juice and snacks and stuff like that all over here. And in San Jose, where main office is, there's a ton of these on each floor. And here's where you get your food. You are eating on china plates. You have regular silverware. You have regular glassware. And at San Jose, they have Mexican station, Asian, Italian, regular food, and all of those. And you can choose which one you want to have for lunch. And then Tom and Jerry have they have Google ice cream that they have put together. And here's the light bulb, and that is hanging way up here. And this is a collaboration center. You need to blow your nose, you need to clean your hands, but you can sit here and talk about a problem you're having and get input from coworkers. And here's where you come in the morning. I didn't know I wasn't supposed to take a picture of this. You come in the morning and you pick up a laptop. Everything's in the cloud, so you really don't have your own computer. If something happens during the day and your computer goes south, you just bring it here and you get another one. And here's where people were collaborating. This is white paper. Here's the whiteboard. And there were people standing here putting their thoughts up here and stuff like that. This just isn't for drawing pictures. They are actually collaborating. And this is Playa del Rey. They hope to turn this into Silicon Valley South. and it really didn't work. A small Microsoft came down from Wilshire. Google opened up these, and this is YouTube. And this is like an amphitheater for whatever used to be here. On the other side of the hill are the houses at the end, south of the end of LAX, and the Pacific Ocean is just over there. But here's where you walk in. Look at all the bright colors. I guess that makes you think better or something. I don't know. But this is just to sit and talk. And here's everything they're working on. Okay. And this is a very small building. So here's their free food right here. And here's where you go in and have lunch. And here's a snack water area in here. And here's the filming. I bet this doesn't look like this now in any way, shape, or form. But here's the green screen. Used to have a green screen when we use Zoom. And this is the other side of the filming area. And those are all the resources. So, and